Hold it, guys. Let me set this up properly. Right. So I'm gonna set this up properly, yeah? You guys, I beg your pardon. Give me a second. Can you guys hear me? I'm not sure about the volume. Let's see if you guys can hear me. Wait a second. That's better, isn't it? Sorry, I need to take the earpiece off because otherwise you'll not be able to hear me. Can you hear me now? Hello? Let me test the sound system first before we start rolling. Let me check how the sound is coming up here. So you might get a little bit of noise interrupting. Just give me a second. Can you guys hear me? 1 minute. Setting up. How are you, my brothers and sisters? Nakangen def. Suñ topic itay the far cover yenen fana. Hang on, I need to check the sound. I don't want to start talking unless the sound is good. Can you guys hear me? Can you comment and let me know the sound is perfect? So let me have a listen to myself. Okay, I can hear myself properly. All right, good. Now, today we're going to cover a few topics. Already, I'm going to be hearing. Mbadi mo. Kopalo, butu bujirage. Koti jamane. Bandirabe fullback. Misal mina foof. Musubem fullback. All right, now let's get a bit serious. The sound is good. We're ready to roll. So we're going to start with Jammeh's return because I'm sure everyone is keen to hear about Jammeh's return to the country, how it's going to happen. Now, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I know for a fact that the groundwork for his return started way back in 2020, August 2020. Actually, it started in 2019 and it stopped because of circumstances. August 2019, on the 28th of August 2019, Jammeh was supposed to return to the Gambia. As agreed with the UN, ECOWAS, AU, all the international agencies agreed to deal with Jammeh. And I'll go into detail as to how the agreement occurred in 2017 and why Gambia is still benefiting from its everlasting peace, thanks to Jammeh being a man of peace. And then we'll go to Gambia Supreme Court, the ruling of the justices of the Gambia Supreme Court of last week. They made 2 rulings, and both rulings are significant as far as Gambia and the APRC are concerned. And I'll break them down, as you know I do. I will not go into legal jargon. I will not get over intoxicated with any verbosity. I will just break it down to simple language that every other person will understand, including people who don't speak English as their first language. All right? So the next one will be NPP, National People's Party's launch. Barrow's party was launched on Saturday, and we saw the drama that went with that political party launch. It was a disaster for an incumbent not to fill a venue of 25,000 supporters. And secondly, an incumbent just rising to the podium to give his speech, only to realize that everyone has deserted him, everyone has left and went home, and he was left with about 5,000 to 10,000 people to deliver his speech to, in such an open stadium with only few supporters in there when he started speaking. I'll tell you what happened, because right now the NPP are fighting inside. Their audios have gone hot like wildfire. They're torching each other based on anger as to what happened at the weekend. They tried to deceive Gambians. It didn't work. And Gambians, being savage in some quarters, showed them exactly what they will not accept going forward. And again, this is testament to the fact that the APRC educated Gambians to a level where it will be extremely difficult to deceive urban people. You might try countryside people, because sometimes we accuse countryside people of not being well aware. They're not fools, they're not stupid, but they're not connected to the internet, to television and other facilities to see exactly what's going on. But what happened to Barrow's lunch at the weekend, we'll discuss later. Also, we'll talk about the guns, the drugs, the crime rates of the country, and also the reason why Barrow government is punctuated by one disaster after another, including natural disasters, by the way, because sometimes the omens go with the person that leads. I'm not very superstitious. Those of you who knew me growing up know that I'm scared of absolutely nothing. I take very little of anything superstitious unless you can work out the formula. All right. So now let's go back to Jammeh's return. I guess some of you want to know whether this is actually true or it's false. Jammeh is going to come or is not going to come. So let's deal with that topic and put that to bed. Now, Jammeh is going to come. As you know, international agencies are notorious for working incredibly slow when they're dealing with materials that have to do with boundaries, that has to do with countries, that have to do with different governments, that has to do with diplomats, engaging the UN, engaging the ECOWAS, engaging the AU, takes an incredibly long time to deal with. So some of you think you can just click your finger and Jammeh gets into a private jet and flies back into the Gambia. It doesn't work like that. This is the world of international diplomacy. There's so much red tape, so much delays, so much sluggishness. And this is inherently true of all the international agencies. They work very, very slow. And Jammeh's return, unfortunately, is suffering from that, again, that slow motion of wheels when it comes to international diplomacy, negotiating international deals. So I know for a fact the groundwork was done to investigate whether Jammeh has got decent places to live in when he returns. I can tell you that for a fact, because I spoke to delegates who were involved from ECOWAS and the EU. I cannot go into further detail, but his return is on the cards. We don't know when. So the APRC is not bluffing. Jammeh was supposed to come back on the 28th of August 2019. It didn't happen because of certain circumstances. One of the reasons I can tell you for a fact that he didn't come is because at that point, the Barrow government was undergoing serious turmoil. Barrow himself was all over the place. He was facing serious fights amongst his other coalition partners. Remember, Barrow was supposed to hold an election in 2019, December, and Jammeh was supposed to come back and contest. So when they knew this, they deliberately threw the spanner in the works. They didn't want Jammeh to come back. So they did everything possible to destabilize our country, and there were a few skirmishes here and there, and they remembered when he called ECOWAS and the EU and said to them, Gambia is not ready, Gambia is unstable, and he wanted the mandate of ECOWAS to be extended for another 12 months. That's the point at which the ECOWAS, the EU, and the neo-colonialists, Barrow's masters, the people who are dictating the way Gambia runs today, accepted Barrow's wolf's cry of telling them that Gambia is not safe, that Gambian security was not adequate, that Gambian security is not good enough to be able to maintain the peace in our nation. So therefore, he couldn't have been able to afford the ECOWAS leaving, ECOWAS forces, fondly called ECOMIC, right? ECOWAS mission in the Gambia. That's why we call it ECOMIC. ECO is ECOWAS, M for mission, I is obviously in, G for Gambia, all right? ECOWAS forces are traditionally called ECOMOG, Economic Community of West African States, yeah? All right, so their mission in the Gambia is the change from O to I, ECOMIC. Right. So Barrow was panicking. The government was facing serious problems, and they created these problems themselves. And the coalition was falling apart. Finally, the last remaining piece of the coalition was falling apart. And then they did everything possible to stop Jammeh's return. Come 2020, the movement started again for Jammeh's return. Then COVID hit, the pandemic hit, and the advice was given to Babeli Mansa and his entourage, because he's got a lot of people with him in Equatorial Guinea. He's got his favorite people with him. The advice was given to him that 2020 was not a good year to return to the Gambia. And on top of that, we were having serious problems in our country. The coronavirus was raging. In fact, coronavirus was heavily underreported in the Gambia. And he was supposed to come back, he didn't come back. But I can tell you towards the end of last year, 2020, the movement became real, even more real, even closer to me believing that Babeli Mansa was going to come back and he was going to live his life peacefully as the Constitution mandates, as per the agreement between ECOWAS, AU, and the United Nations. And that agreement is still published on the UN website. So it's foolish to think that the UN, ECOWAS, and AU will simultaneously, concurrently, publish a deal, a joint declaration they call it, a joint declaration on the Gambia dated 21 January 2017. You will be foolish to think that the tittle-tattle that the Barrow government was engaged in, the tomfoolery, the buffoonery that the Barrow government and the coalition partners were engaged in, would pressure the UN, ECOWAS, and AU to publish a joint declaration which was thrashed out between the parties. Barrow himself insinuated that there was a deal between them and Jammeh, because Jammeh wanted to remain on Gambian soil. He didn't want to fly overseas for the sake of it. He said he was going to retreat to his village and continue farming. And he's been farming even before he became a soldier. When he was in the army, he was still farming and distributing his farm produce between his neighbors and his family. He got into government, he continued that farming tradition. So people seem to think Jammeh just became president and is showing off, grow what you eat what you grow. He was never a farmer before. It was because of the government that he turned to farming, which is fallacy. In fact, I saw that UDP lady Ramsey Jab confirming that Jammeh was farming even before he got into the army, because she knew Jammeh, even Jammeh became a soldier. And when Jammeh became a soldier, before Jammeh became president. And she confirmed, if a UDP candidate tells you that this is what Jammeh was before he became president, you better believe it. Because she said Jammeh was farming, and when he when he harvests his farm produce, he shares it between his neighbors and friends and families. And he continued that tradition. So for the UN, ECOWAS, and AU to have that joint declaration, which Barrow was alluding to, which Barrow was referring to, which the government spokesman, Ibrahim Sankare, with all his denial tendencies, could not deny that there was an agreement. In fact, that agreement is the reason why Gambia is intact. Because Jammeh was not going to run away. No. ECOWAS, ECOMIC, has got a track record of failing in almost all the missions that they were involved in West Africa, to a point where they can't even be bothered to intervene in Ivory Coast. They didn't go and intervene in Mali. They didn't go to Guinea-Conakry and intervene. They intervened in Guinea-Bissau, but Omar Mbalo, the Guinea-Bissau president, told them to pack it in and go home. He was not going to listen to them. And we're getting to that point where Gambians are going to say the same thing to the economic forces on Gambian soil currently, and the illegal forces of the Senegalese forces who are occupying Gambian soil illegally. And this has been confirmed by my party. This has been confirmed by the coalition. This is, in fact, been confirmed by top sources in Senegal, that there's a contingent of 1,500 Senegalese forces on Gambian soil who are not economic. They came under the guise of economic. They're occupying Gambian soil illegally. We are under occupation, and most of them are stationed in Fonyi, doing all the dirt in that region and doing all the dirt that they can, and nothing will come out of it. In fact, they've killed a few Fonyinkers, shot a few of them, and nothing has come out of it because Barrow government does absolutely nothing right. Barrow is finished. Barrow has totally collapsed. Barrow government is on his last legs. And if he didn't see signs of it this weekend, then Barrow himself has got mental health issues. And I can tell you why. We'll get to that point, the NPP launch. And even before that, I can tell you why Barrow can only win election this year if there was foul play. I cannot see, for the life of me, I cannot see how that man is going to win the election clean in 2021. If we do get to that election, because I have a feeling that Barrow's collapse is imminent. He's falling apart already. Whether he'll be able to hold himself in one piece, whether his government is going to be able to hold itself in one piece up to the 4th of December, we shall see. But I know, and you know, and she knows, and he knows, that Gambian people are not serious about developing their country. The only time we will go forward is when we have a president who has a spine, who has a backbone, a president who's fearless, a president who's hot and cold at the same time, a president who's strict on discipline, regardless of who's facing them. We will not go forward. The reason Barrow is failing woefully is because Barrow has no spine. Barrow has no capacity, and bless him, he did admit at the beginning of his presidency that he was not cut out for this. Now, I give Barrow that benefit of the doubt. He didn't know what presidency was. He didn't know how a disciplined civil service worked. He didn't know anything about how a security system works. And Barrow himself was so scared of our security services to a point where one day he said he shook hands with Jammeh and he froze. He didn't freeze because Jammeh had some mystical powers. He froze because of his apparent fear for our soldiers. Look at Barrow when he goes around our military barracks on parade. The man is terrified for his life. He's so scared. He'll go to military parade and he's like this to the soldiers. Oh, he's like when he's walking, he's like scared to walk. Oh my God. And then he'll be bowing like a penguin. He went to Turkey. He saw soldiers. Man buckled big time. He buckled. He wilted. Barrow couldn't lift his head to look at Gambian soldiers. Barrow couldn't lift his head to look at Turkish soldiers. As soon as he sees that khaki, that camouflage, that military camouflage, the man just melts. He just evaporates. He's just so scared, and I don't know where that fear is emanating from. This is the problem with our president. He said he shook hands with Jammeh. His whole system, the body froze. The system couldn't move. And look at him. You go and look at the videos. I'm not making this up. When he went to Fajara or Yundum Barracks to inspect the troops, the man was scared. He didn't even know where to turn. He didn't know how to handle a military parade. And I'm sure they held a rehearsal with him before they filmed it live. The man went, he turned in the wrong direction. He said, hey, turn, it's the other way. And he went like, yeah, penguin dance. Same thing he did in Turkey. So Jammeh's return, ladies and gentlemen, is real. I can tell you that there's only so much I can share with you guys. I cannot tell you all. But his return is imminent. It's real. APRC is not bluffing. APRC is disciplined. It's a very highly disciplined party. We don't go around telling people stuff that doesn't exist. We certainly don't make up stories for any reason. We speak the truth. We're real. We're the people who transported Gambia in 20 years, transportation that the country didn't experience in 432 years before the APRC government. And I don't think in today's Gambia anyone is knocking that fact. Nobody's arguing about Jammeh's love of the Gambia. Nobody's arguing about Jammeh's patriotism. Nobody's arguing about Jammeh's love of keeping peace and security on our land at all costs. And he repeatedly said it when he was in government, that he's not going to allow a tiny few, a small group of people to ruin it for the many. And he meant it. And he stood by it. And he performed it. And he acted it. He led by example. He went to the hospitals. He went to the schools. He went to the farms. He went to the industries. He went to Nawek. He went to Gamtel. He went everywhere. He was farming and lifting stuff, getting dirty with his white kaftans, getting dirty, down and dirty like a real farmer would. But I don't want to spend too much time on this. For APRC people, this is a great time to be excited. For many Gambian people, this is a great time to be excited because what we're facing in the Gambia now, we never faced since 1994. And this is not subject of any argument. This is not subject of any bickering or squabbling. We all agree that Jammeh loved the Gambia to the core. We all agree. He wanted peace and security in our country at all hours of the day, every single minute, every single second of the day. He acted it, he performed it, he talked the talk, he walked the walk. That man has done for Gambia. He's given us stuff and we took it for granted. Oh, aren't we now regretting it? Look at the Gambia today. Forget the fact that you don't support Jammeh or you support him. Just tell the truth. What we saw in the 22 years of Jammeh, we never saw in the 432 years before him. And the last 4 years, we've seen a total disintegration of our state, a total shattering of our fabric. Our society is falling apart. Gambia today is all about tribalism, discrimination, insults, stealing, lying, corruption, theft, murder. Street crime is at its all-time high. Because Barrow government is allowing a few people to ruin it for the many. Something that Jammeh always stood up and said, I will not allow few people to destabilize the country. He meant it. He acted it. He performed it. He ensured we all slept in our houses. Unless you got some dirty business doing, or you've been wrongly implicated or reported, you didn't fear burglary in your house. You didn't fear walking Gambian soil at 1 a.m., black or white, man or woman. And these are solid facts. Nobody's arguing that. The man is coming. It's real. I can tell you this. But like I said to you, there's only so much I can tell you. I cannot tell you every single thing. I can only tell you that the groundwork for Jammeh's return with ECOWAS delegates and AU delegates actually started last year. So this is not a lie. But the international agencies are incredibly slow. They are frustratingly slow when they're dealing with matters. And we have to be patient. The man will be back. And I can tell you one thing before I end this Jammeh topic. I'll tell you one thing. If Jammeh's return is announced before he comes to the Gambia, no single soul is going to move. No single vehicle is going to move for 13, 14, 15, 24 hours anywhere near the airport, anywhere in the coastal roads, anywhere near the combos. You'll be forced to do a round trip round the way to Barra to come to Banjul or to come to the other areas of the combos. I can tell you that for a fact because people have now seen the truth. I've seen the game at TRRC has been raised to tarnish his image more. Unsuccessfully, that would be. I've seen the TRRC raise their game of cunning witnesses. Incredible stories at TRRC coming out. You can raise your game, TRRC, all you want. You can lift it up. You can shatter the ceiling. You can speed up and break the sound barrier, TRRC, if you want. You are not going to stop Jammeh. You're not going to stop APRC. Man, it's too late to stop us. It's not going to happen. In fact, their audios are confessing now that the APRC is having a massive resurgence. And Jammeh's return is being celebrated. Even people who voted against him in 2016 are now saying, let him come back. People are apologizing on social media daily, on the ground daily, on radio stations daily, saying to Gambian people and the media and everyone, if we knew what had happened. We made a big mistake in removing Jammeh from Gambian soil. Look what we're facing now. Just yesterday, a girl was raped, one of many, by a taxi driver and his friends. Rampant. It's happening everywhere. People are doing what they like. Look at the drugs. But I'll come to that with the NPP. I want to go to the Supreme Court of the Gambia. I want to address the constitutional immunity, and I want to address the two rulings that the Supreme Court of the Gambia gave us last week. First and foremost, let me start with the electoral roll. All of you, last November or October, I did a Facebook Live, and you got to listen to me. I don't do politics to deceive people. I don't do politics to annoy people. I don't do politics to lie to anyone. I have no business lying. I'll get zero credit for it. I'll get zero payment for it. In fact, I will get punished for it, now or later. I told you guys this in 2020, when the fake electoral bill, well, it wasn't fake, when the original draft election bill was leaked, the one that the IEC wanted to send to Parliament. And in that electoral bill, the draft, they wanted to exclude Gambians in the diaspora from voting, from standing for government positions or Parliament or local government or the presidency. They wanted to exclude us completely. They didn't want people like Lamin Tamba, people like Fatou Jagne, people like Bas Sonko, people like Mr. Conte, people like Mr. Ndour, people like Mr. Njai. They didn't want these people living overseas to contest in Gambian election, not even to vote. And I came out live and I shredded the electoral bill to pieces. Thankfully, Duduja and the APRC executive picked that issue up and went to their inter-party meeting, and thankfully the election bill has been significantly edited, amended to suit the constitutional rights. But we're happy that the Supreme Court of the Gambia has now given us this ruling. And this ruling came about because selfish people were fighting for their own gain, and in the process, they vindicated me, but most importantly, they vindicated Babili Mansa, the APRC party leader, the APRC flag bearer, the APRC supreme leader, and I'll come down to the judgment now, right? Now, the Supreme Court of the Gambia said, it stated, that if you're a Gambian citizen, even if you hold dual citizenship, and I said this back in November, when the electoral bill was leaked, that the Constitution cannot give you a right in one hand and take the same right from another hand. The Constitution should never do that. A democracy should never do that. And I said this before. So the Constitution cannot tell you you're allowed to eat benachin and then turn around and say, actually, some Gambian citizens can eat benachin, but some Gambian citizens cannot eat benachin. They have to eat mbahal. All right? I'll start again. Our Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land, cannot tell you that you can eat benachin, all citizens can eat benachin, and then turn around with another lesser law, like the election bill, a lesser law, and tell you that, oh, actually, people from Badibu can eat benachin, but people from Nyomi have to eat mbahal. The Constitution and any other law can't clash at equal footing. They can clash to the point where the Constitution steps in. If they clash, the other law is inferior, it's small. It should never stick, it should never stand. So therefore, if the electoral bill and the Constitution clash, the electoral bill suffers. If the Constitution and electoral bill clash, the electoral bill suffers. If the electoral bill hits the Constitution, the electoral bill suffers. So therefore, we cannot have the Constitution and electoral bill fighting. We cannot have the Constitution and Public Order Act fighting. We cannot have the Constitution and the Child Act fighting. So the Supreme Court said to Gambians and the world that the Constitution says once you're a Gambian citizen, you're entitled to all the fundamental rights of the land. So therefore, if you're a... sorry guys, the network is messing about. So the constitution or the electoral bill can't say some citizens in the Gambia can vote, but citizens outside of the Gambia cannot vote. Why is that discrimination illegal in our constitution? Well, the Supreme Court just ruled. And I'll tell you why this is exciting for APRC. Not just APRC, this is exciting for every political party in the Gambia. Our fundamental rights must be accorded to every single citizen, regardless of where they're living in the world. All of us, me, other people living in the diaspora are living here because of conditions. We're trying to improve ourselves, and in the process improve our country, and in the process improve many people in our country, and in the process, in this momentary occasion, this particular moment as I speak to you, it's people like us that are saving the Gambian economy. We're giving the Gambian economy 49% of what it needs. All right? So when the Gambia government needs the diaspora, they're happy. But when the diaspora needs the Gambia government, they want to discriminate against us. So the Supreme Court said, from now on, according to their ruling, any political party in the Gambia can have their executive members living abroad. You'll remember in 2019, early 2019, the APRC executive was forced to go to IEC to remove Yahya Jammeh's name from the executive. Because at that time, the Electoral Act 2015, at that time, the Electoral Act 2015 said, no, an IEC rule said, no executive member of a party should live abroad. Therefore, APRC Congress in 2018 voted Babili Mansa as the party leader, the supreme leader, and the flag bearer. So APRC executive were forced to go to IEC to remove Babili Mansa's name from the executive because the electoral act at the time stated that it couldn't happen. All right? So the IEC, the Supreme Court said that must stop. That's gone now. You can be living abroad and be an executive member of a party, including leading a political party in the Gambia. So therefore, today, as I speak to you right now, if the APRC says we're going to make Lamin Tamba a messenger, the APRC can list me in the executive as a messenger who runs from Westfield Monument to Serekunda Market to get sweets for the APRC executive. All right? The APRC executive can list me as an executive member without contravening any laws in the Gambia. So therefore, the Electoral Act 2015, Gambia Parliament now needs to amend that section that the Supreme Court struck out. The Supreme Court said that is breaching the fundamental rights of every Gambian. Even if you have dual citizenship, as long as Gambia Constitution recognizes dual citizenship, it cannot then turn around and discriminate against you. It cannot then turn around and say, because you got dual citizenship, you're no longer going to be entitled to what other Gambian citizens can get. And I said this in November before the Supreme Court ruled. I will share that Facebook Live again so that you guys can listen. The Constitution cannot give you a right in one hand, right? One hand, and then another act enacted by Parliament takes that right away from you from the left hand. That shouldn't happen. That's illegal, unconstitutional. So now, the APRC executive can go to IEC even tomorrow and say to IEC now, our Congress 2018 in Buyam resolved that Babili Mansa is our party leader and that he's our flag bearer and that he's our supreme leader. So now we want to reinstate his name on the list of executive members of the APRC party. And that's exciting because a man can stay there until a few days before nomination, fly into the Gambia, go and get nominated as the flag bearer of the APRC and contest, and he's going to win the election. That's what the Supreme Court said. Babili Mansa can now be listed as one of the executive members of the APRC. And Congress in 2018 in Buyam resolved that Babili Mansa is the party leader, the flag bearer, and the supreme leader of the APRC. That all came about because some selfish people were fighting for their own gain, and then they exonerated Babili Mansa. Just like the way they threw the Jammeh Commission out in favor of Babili Mansa, because the people, their own family members, were fighting against the Jammeh Commission's white paper. And that Jammeh Commission, the Constitution, the Jammeh Commission should now withdraw every single recommendation that they made against Babili Mansa. They need to go back and remove every single adverse finding they made against Yahya Jammeh, the former president of the Republic of the Gambia, because that's unconstitutional. Schedule 2, paragraph 13, sections 1 to 5, subsections 1 to 5, state that the military junta should not be subject of any tribunal, any investigation, or any commission. Do you know why they couldn't charge Yankuba Toure for contempt at TRRC when he refused to testify? Because TRRC is a commission, and that commission is below the Constitution, and the Constitution says no junta member should be answerable to any tribunal or any commission for what they did or didn't do in government. So therefore, the Jammeh Commission could have investigated everyone except the junta between 1994 to 1996, or even if they investigated, they cannot take any action against any of the junta members. And from 1996 to 2017, Section 69 of the Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia states that a serving president cannot be subject to any commission for what they did or didn't do when they were in government. The same act that protected Jawara from any litigation, the same act that's protecting Barrow today. But Barrow is not a wise man. Barrow is thick. Barrow is slow. These people are digging a pit to bury him in, and he's not waking up. In fact, it looked like he was sleeping at the launch of his own party. The cabal in the Gambia, the mafia, are strapping Barrow one limb after another. They strapped his left leg. They are strapping his right leg. Before the next election, they would have strapped the man with his hands tied behind him. And they'll dip him in that ditch and they'll bury him there. We must not politicize our constitution. It's protecting every single one of us. Therefore, it's every single one of us responsibility to ensure our constitution is protected. That constitution is not toilet paper. It's not rubbish. It's not Jammeh's constitution. It was voted in by more than 75% of the Gambia. So when you insult it, please bear in mind that your mother or father probably voted for that constitution in August 1996. Bear that in mind. So when you call it tissue paper or shit paper or a B-word constitution, I don't want to swear because I'm on the APRC official platform. I need to comport myself. I need to apply maximum decorum because APRC doesn't believe in insulting, profanity, or swearing. That constitution was passed by more than 75% of the Gambian population. Your mother and father, your aunt, uncle, they probably voted for that constitution. If you're young in 1996 like me, I was not the voting age in 1996, so I couldn't vote. All right, maybe I was, I can't remember now. Yeah, I couldn't vote for that constitution, but over 75% of that constitution was voted in. Well, over 75% voted that constitution in. So now the Supreme Court has paved the way for Babili Mansa to lead the APRC, to be part of the APRC executive, and also the Jammeh Commission is facing serious challenges, and we're just about to launch legal challenges against the Jammeh Commission, the freezing of the APRC accounts, and the TRRC, and we would like everyone watching here to be able to fund our link when we create it. We're going to take legal action as friends of Jammeh, or friends of the Gambia, or friends of APRC, because we want our constitutional provisions to be upheld. Nobody should be playing with our constitution the way they want to. The constitution is the supreme law of the land, and we must protect it at all times. Because if we change it today to punish Mariama, tomorrow you'll be in Mariama's position because you punished him and got him sacked, and then you will get punished by the same law that you changed. And this is why I want to go to that Supreme Court ruling, the second ruling. Because the Chief Justice Hassan Jallow and 5 other justices, or 4 other justices, or 3 other justices ruled that Yankuba Toure cannot benefit from constitutional immunity that he should clearly benefit from. A dangerous ruling, catastrophic. The same Hassan Jallow, who's the head of the judiciary, the Chief Justice, he ruled against Yankuba Toure's constitutional immunity. Well, why then didn't they charge Yankuba Toure for contempt of the TRRC or refusing to testify at the TRRC? Why? Because they know for a fact the Constitution says a commission is way below it. A commission should never take the junta to task, should never take Jammeh to task, should never take Barrow to task, and even if APRC wins in December, unless Barrow has committed treason, which is something that cannot be indemnified, treason cannot have any immunity on it. So therefore, all of you that plotted to kill Jammeh, to overthrow him, you haven't escaped. No. You haven't escaped at all. The Constitution says no tribunal, no commission should subject the junta to any investigation for what they did or didn't do. And it continued in Section 69 to say the same about a civilian president, Jammeh. Jawara couldn't have any action taken against him, even if you hated him. And Barrow, when he loses election in December, we're not going to prosecute him straight away because the Constitution says we can't, unless he committed treason in December 2016 by rigging the election, because rigging the election is high treason. So Barrow himself will face action if it turns out that the election in 2016 was rigged. And when APRC wins, we will investigate the 2016 election to the bottom. And that's a guarantee. So Hassan Jallow, the Chief Justice of the Republic of the Gambia, says, if you've done anything that's not your official duties, you should not benefit. Or Hassan B. Jallow, yeah. If you did anything beyond your official duties, you should never benefit from immunity, any sort of immunity. And I'll tell you why that ruling is dangerous. And I'll tell you why Hassan B. Jallow himself has opened himself to go to jail in Mile 2. I'll tell you in a second. We must be careful. We have to be extremely careful. We have to be strategic in the way we look at our affairs. We shouldn't change the laws because we hate somebody and we're going to punish him. We shouldn't change the laws because we love somebody and we need to protect him. The laws should remain constant. If you foul them, you get punished. If you honor them, you get rewarded. That's what the law should do. Now I'll tell you why Hassan Jallow is going to go to jail. And his justices have helped him go to jail. And that's if he himself knew fully well what the government orders or the general orders, the GOs. The GOs are there. And Gambia Public Procurement Authority has got rules. And those rules stated that no government department, no government official should buy a V8 engine. V8 engine is a big engine. It's like two engines strapped together. That's what the general orders say, the GOs, government GOs, and Gambia Public Procurement Authority. The rules are there. No V8 engine should be bought for any government official duties. No V8 engine should be bought from government coffers to do any government business, any official business. That's what the general order stated. Categorically clear. So therefore, last year we saw Hassan Jallow, the Chief Justice of the Gambia, buy himself a V8 engine for 4.2 million Gambian dollars. A V8 engine. Even if he didn't plan to procure that engine, even if he didn't plan to purchase that engine, but he knew when the furore, the uproar, the public anger came out, that the Gambia government was buying a 4.2 liter, no, it's a V8 engine for $4.2 million for the Chief Justice of the Gambia. He couldn't have told us that he didn't know that they were buying him that vehicle against government laws, against government rules. Why did the Chief Justice of the Gambia go beyond his official duties to buy himself a V8 engine against the government orders? So therefore, that man one day, he will be subjected to serious problems, prosecution for embezzling government funds if he either led the purchase of that vehicle or aided and abetted the purchase of that vehicle. And even when he found out that that vehicle was a V8 and was bought against the government rules, he should have handed it back and told them to return it and take a vehicle below the V8, V6 down, naturally aspirated engines to be able to run government business. So they said Yankuba Toure's allegations of murder were beyond official duties. They are not official duties, all right? A cabinet minister and a president don't have official times. They don't have official duties. They respond to the need of the nation at any time. 2 p.m., 12 midnight, 3 a.m. If they're called upon because there's an emergency, the government will wake up. The cabinet minister manning that portfolio will have to wake up. The president will have to wake up, interrupt their sleep to be able to make sure Gambian people sleep peacefully or the emergency is halted. So therefore, Chief Justice Hassan Jallow and your people, because I saw some judiciary members stealing drugs that were seized from criminals and selling them. A lot of theft, judiciary staff were going on strike because their big bosses are being paid a lot more. A disproportionate discrepancy between their pay and the big fat judges out there, the fat cat judges, who are being paid obscene amounts of money. Somebody told me they're getting way over 100 and something thousand. Is that a month or a year? I don't know. But their staff are getting 3,000, 4,000 a month, 5,000 a month. And they went on strike. Some of the drugs that they seized, and they were the subject of court proceedings, exhibits in court, were stolen by judiciary staff and being sold elsewhere. Hassan Jallow is overseeing that. You remember what Batambidi used to say? Those who bear the greatest responsibility. That's what Batambidi said. So therefore, today Yankuba Baji, who probably wasn't involved in the murder of Solo Sandeng, is being charged for murder because he was the head of the NIA. So if drugs are going missing, drugs that were supposed to be exhibits or destroyed by the government are going missing because of the court staff stealing them and selling them, who is the head of that department? Chief Justice Hassan Jallow. He's the head of that department. Will he face the same fate as Yankuba Baji and Usman Sonko being picked up and charged because you were the head of the department? They are digging holes for themselves. This is why we must never change the law to punish one person. We must never change the law to please one person. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, let's be consistent. Let's keep the law. Let's be equal before the law. Let's apply the law equally. We must never change it to suit our family members. We must never change it to appease anyone. We must never change it regardless who's at the receiving end. Whether we like the person or we hate them, we must remain consistent. Yankuba Baji is facing trial because his staff in his department did what they said was wrong, the murder of Solo Sandeng. Hassan Jallow bought a V8. His department bought a V8, 4.2 million Gambian dollars, so he can ride in it, against the government laws, embezzlement, corruption. He's the head of the department. His staff are stealing drugs, doing other things, illegal stuff. Is he going to face the same trial like Yankuba Baji? Is he going to be harangued and harassed and called names like Usman Sonko? No, Usman Sonko and Yankuba Baji are probably jailers anyway. Selective justice. This is why we're changing the law to suit some people. And we think it's cool. While you're digging pits for yourselves. And that's the situation we're in now. The Supreme Court of the Gambia says Yankuba Toure cannot benefit. Yes, it's true. I can tell you this, as the little I know in law, it's difficult to indemnify premeditated murder. Was that murder premeditated? Was Yankuba Toure there? Was Yankuba Toure a junta guy? And what you guys need to remember, I told those friends of the court who submitted their case to the Supreme Court to deny Yankuba Toure his immunity. They quoted the Vienna Convention. They quoted the Geneva Convention. They quoted all those conventions, forgetting that between 1994 and 1996, it was ruled by decree, military junta that had no recognition of any of those conventions. So therefore, to subject the military junta that ruled by decree to such conventions is foolish. Now, I'm not saying the Supreme Court is biased. That will be perjury. I'm not saying they arrived at their decision because they hate Yankuba Toure. That's perjury. What I'm saying is their ruling is dangerous. And somebody told me, because the Supreme Court still hasn't told us why they arrived at that decision to say that Yankuba Toure is not entitled to constitutional immunity for his murder charge. They didn't tell us. They said, oh, we'll tell you at a later date. He cannot benefit from immunity. We can't tell you now, but we'll tell you at a later date. Why? They took 4 months, October, November, December, January, to arrive at this decision. And they couldn't draft a statement to tell us why. They told us that constitutional immunity does not cover Yankuba Toure for that murder charge. Why couldn't they tell us? We're allowed to speculate. They could have waited then until they're ready to give us the reasons, then tell us he's not entitled to it. But they told us he's not entitled to it, and we'll tell you the reasons later. When? Next year? Ladies and gentlemen, I want you guys to understand one thing. This is the Gambia. We must not change the laws unless it's been changed for the public good, like the Supreme Court did with the Electoral Bill, Electoral Act 2015. They changed it for the greater good. But they only changed it. If that was challenged by APRC, again, I'm not saying they're biased. If that part of the election bill was challenged by the APRC, we probably might have lost. But guess what? We're just about to hit the Supreme Court with legal challenges of the Jammeh Commission's jurisdiction when it came to looking into Babili Mansa stuff and recommending adversely against him, knowing fully well that the gentleman is immune to that tribunal's finding, to that commission's finding. We're just about to challenge, and please, brothers and sisters, please donate to our legal challenge against the government, the Barrow government, for the acts of the Jammeh Commission, for the acts of the TRRC. They can investigate. There's nothing wrong with investigating it. But they had absolutely no right to make any recommendations or findings to punish Jammeh for any acts or omissions when he was in office. The Jammeh Commission was wrong. The TRRC is wrong. But now that the Supreme Court says those immunity clauses don't cover murder, alleged murder, those immunity clauses do not cover stuff that is done beyond official duties. So therefore, buying a V8 Chief Justice is beyond official duties. The official statement of the government and the rules state you cannot buy a V8 for official government functions. The Chief Justice of the Gambia bought himself a V8, $4.2 million. Something that should have bought 2 or 3 scanners, MRI scanners or CT scanners for hospitals, blood bags. Something that should have funded fares for people who want to donate blood to the hospital for 2 years. Just so he can sit in there and be comfortable. And at the same time, dig the grave for Barrow who gave him the job. But Barrow is not to know. Barrow is going to find himself buried under rubble and then he'll ask himself the questions. At that stage, Barrow cannot rescue himself. Only the angels can. It'll be too late for him. So therefore, the APRC, you must be excited now that Babili Mansa's obstacles have been removed. We must now come together and challenge the Supreme Court. If the election petition of 2016 is still valid, they need to investigate it. We need to challenge the Jammeh Commission. They had no legal right to investigate Jammeh. Even if they did, they cannot recommend anything, any sort of action against him. The appeals courts told them they didn't conduct their business legally. What they did was illegal. They're still hesitating to give Jammeh back his properties. Well, Barrow, the Constitution, the Supreme Court is ruling in your favor now. In few months, Barrow, you'll be in the dock facing us, deciding your fate, Barrow. You will be in that dock and we'll remind you of this case law from the Supreme Court. President Barrow, wake up. There's a mafia tying you up. Your one leg is tied. They're going to the second leg. You saw the embarrassment at the stadium. And we'll come to that topic next in a minute. Yankuba is now facing murder charge. If he did commit murder, well and good. I'm not going to defend anyone who's premeditated crime and affected and killed or maimed somebody. Now, I will not put roadblocks there. I'm not going to interrupt it. I'm not saying nobody should be charged for any crime that they're suspected of committing. I never said that. I will never put roadblocks in front of legal action being taken against wrongdoers. I never said that from day one. never supported any murder or any loss of life. Whether it's Haruna Jatta in Kanilai, or the 3 people in Faraba, or Sirifo Kujabi who was murdered and thrown in a well, or Solo Sandeng, or anyone that died during APRC's tenure, or the several scores, hundreds that died in 1981, I am not condoning it. I will not stop anyone taking action. But we must all recognize that if you become a president or a cabinet minister, a lot of things that happen under a department are delegated. People carry those acts out, sometimes without you knowing. Sometimes you know when they've already committed the crime, but you want to punish the head of department. So therefore, Chief Justice Hassan Jallow, be ready to answer to us about the 4.2 million V8 that you bought for your official duties. All right? Be ready to answer for that. Make sure you have savings of $4.2 million somewhere, because we will try and rustle that money back from you. Because you've gone beyond your official duties. And the TRRC has got immunity sought out for themselves. Could you believe that? TRRC, who's trying to make sure Yankuba Toure doesn't benefit from immunity, Yaya Jammeh doesn't benefit from immunity, the TRRC themselves have got immunity, and they want to cover themselves. And we've all seen lies that took place at TRRC. We've all heard that witnesses are being coached, whether it's true or not. We all heard that witnesses are being paid to lie, whether that's true or not, we don't know. But that lady that came and said they charged a 2-month-old baby for protesting was lying. I've gone through all the court paperwork. Prince Almami James Manga didn't charge a 2-month-old baby. In fact, Prince Almami James Manga is a police officer. If he's given command orders, he'll have to carry those orders out. Picking up a woman who went to protest with a baby on their back, 2-month-old baby, and he gone to a crazy protest. She didn't have any shame to blame herself. She mentioned, Prince Almami James Manga. But guess who dealt with those cases? Guess who dealt with those cases? It's Sirif Kumba Job, a very good lawyer. There was no charges on the 2-month-old baby. That was a blatant lie. And they know why they call Almami James Manga's name, because he's the only one that doesn't have a mother. Yeah? Kumbabu Amut Ndai. This is why it's been since 2017. It's the victimization of the Jola and the Fonyi people. Constantly. Constantly. The papers are there. There are so many people named who are their brothers and their sisters, but they won't name them. They will not insinuate that they committed crimes or they were wicked people. They had to name Prince Almami James Manga because he doesn't have backers. Everything that they're doing today, it's Jammeh and the Fonyi people. Jammeh and the Fonyi people and the Jola, because they don't have backers. Well, you're making mistakes. Yeah? They're making mistakes. I've got the papers here. For confidentiality, I'm not going to read them. There are 41 UDP suspects that were picked up. That woman was not in mile 2 with the baby. That woman was not even in a cell, police cell with the baby. Went and lied against Prince Almami James Manga. The same thing they're doing to Lantombong. The same thing they're doing to people they don't like. You'll never see them chase any other person apart from the people who don't have backers. And if you think Fonyi people don't have backers, you're making a big mistake. Because when we're fed up, we'll fight. But we're not going to give you that, because that will be glorifying your imbecility. We will not glorify your imbecility. We'll ensure you stink with it. Adama Barrow, wake up. They're digging a hole for you. Your fall is vowed, Barrow. Beware, Barrow, of the conspiracies, the cabal, the mafia that's tethering you into one little rock. You got to wake up. You got to smart up. You need to buckle up. Develop a backbone, a spine. Stand up. Don't fear punishing Gambians that want to destabilize your country. Don't fear punishing Gambians who are embezzling your money today. Government money. The drugs cartels. But Barrow is not to know. Barrow will not wake up. Barrow saw what happened in the Independence Stadium and he was still sleeping. Barrow's organizers went and told people that they were going to fill the stadium with 75,000 spectators. 75,000 spectators? For a stadium that only holds 25,000 people? A capacity of 25,000 people? If you said that to me as the president of the Gambia, I would be saying, look, guys, I am a real man. I am here. I want realism. I want realism. The stadium only takes 25,000. If you stretch it, 35, 40,000. Maximum. Where are you going to fit the other 40,000 supporters? Where? Where are you going to fit them? They told him they're going to fit in there. On the day of the launching of the National People's Party, abbreviated NPP, Barrow himself doesn't know it's NPP, he calls it MPP. They said that day there were 800,000 people at the stadium. Again, total buffoonery, absolute nonsense. If I were the president, somebody comes and tells me there were 800,000 people at the stadium today, I would point them to the ground because they're insulting my intelligence. They're taking me for a fool. But Barrow is not to know. They told Barrow you built 3,000 classrooms. Barrow believed it. They told Barrow the school in Nemakunku you built it. He couldn't even remember the one school that he said he built. One school Barrow built in Nemakunku. He couldn't remember it. We saw Mama Kande come and debunk that. That school was built by the Chinese Indian community, I think, and given to the people of Nemakunku as a contribution for the great jobs that Babili Mansa gave them, the APRC government gave them. The school had nothing to do with Barrow. They told Barrow, you built 3,000 classrooms. He swallowed it hook, line, and sinker without scratching beneath the surface. The man has got serious lack of capacity. He's so incompetent. In any other country, he would have been kicked out within 3 months of stepping in office. They told him, you built 600 kilometers of roads. He didn't ask them, where were those roads built? He just went and said it. I built 600 kilometers of roads in the space of 4 years, 5 years, he said. Where? Where are the roads? He built one road, the North Bank region. One heavy rainfall, it swept the road apart. It swept it away. They told Barrow, oh, go and tell them you're going to build Banjul Bara Bridge. Oh, I'm going to build Banjul Bara Bridge. Oh, I'm going to build 60 mosques. Oh, free Wi-Fi in Brikama. Oh, 20,000 jobs in Combo South. He went to the stadium. You know what? His organizers fooled Gambian people and told Gambian people that Wali Seka, and I think Vivian, I'm not sure about Vivian, but his organizers definitely told people that Wali Seka was going to play at the stadium, just like Jaliba played at the UDP rally. So therefore, a lot of those young girls and boys that went to the stadium that day, and he couldn't even fill the stadium. The stadium is 25,000 capacity, and Barrow couldn't fill it. That is a damning indictment on an incumbent. If an incumbent cannot fill a venue of a 25,000 people capacity, you have no support in your country. Totally. With the power and the pomp that goes with the government machinery, with the panache, bravado that goes with the president, the incumbency, the power, the atmosphere that goes with the presidency. If you cannot pack a 25,000 capacity stadium to the rafters, you are a total failure. But Barrow is not to know. He was about to have his biggest shock in his life. But the man thought it was still cool. But the crowd stood there, patiently waiting for Wali Seka and Vivian. They waited and waited. Young boys and girls went there for a fun time to see Wali Seka and Vivian, not to see Barrow, because Barrow's speeches are inherently, perennially weak, impotent, void of any reason, void of substance. They weren't there for Barrow. That crowd of 20,000 people wasn't there for Adama Barrow. They went there to have a cracking time with Wali Seka and possibly Vivian. I saw Vivian in Gambia or something like that. I saw her in Gambia or maybe Senegal, but with one of my favorite sisters. Why didn't she perform at the weekend? I'll tell you the rumors, right? I'll tell you the rumors why Wali Seka didn't perform, why Vivian didn't come. Not sure about Vivian too much, but Wali Seka, I'll tell you what. One of them, the MPP people, who was ashamed at the weekend and admitted that their MC lied by telling people that Wali Secker was going to play. The person told me, I cannot believe they lied to people. And they're disgusted. NPP people telling me this. I can't believe they lied to people. So that crowd, 3/4 of it was a Wali Secker crowd. And you saw how young they were. When they're there, because if Wali Secker was there, he would have played and entertained Barrow and the entourage first, before Barrow got up on the podium to speak. They waited patiently. Where's Wali? Where's Wali? Where's Wali? Barrow came, no sign of Wali. Barrow's on the podium, the front desk is full. No sign of Wali Secker. The young boys and girls obviously lied to sat there thinking, what's going on? Everyone has come and sang, entertainment, announcement, no announcement of Wali's arrival, no Wali's entourage, no sign of him. You know what they did? People left in their droves, in their thousands, left. They went home. By the time Barrow rose to the podium to speak, all the stands were empty. He had about 5,000, 10,000 people, if we were generous, left with him at the stadium. They all left. Barrow stood up. What did he see? 4 grey walls of the stadium. Huh? And the man was there. If I was him, if this was Babili Mansa, by today you would have seen the amount of sackings of the great liars, most of them from Fonyi, lied to Barrow that he's got Fonyi support, lied to Barrow that they're going to give him 75,000 people at the stadium. I'll tell you what, only APRC will be able to amass a crowd of more than 50,000 people in the Gambia at a gathering. Only APRC. They lied to Barrow. You have Fonyi support. You have Kian support. You have Badibu support. You have Nyomi support. He cannot raise a crowd of 20,000 people, and that 20,000 that was at the stadium, another 10 to 15,000 were Wali Secker fans. They all left. The man got up to speak. And guess what? Brothers and sisters, we have got a big accident in our country. Barrow is a massive accident. It resembles, what do you call it? No, it's not Noah, not the flood that destroyed the world and Noah's Ark saved people. That's too big. What sort of accident can I equate him to? It's certainly not an earthquake alone. He was basically fooled significantly by his own people. I'm not going to go into idioms. Let me leave the idioms alone. All right? All the hyperboles can sit now because I want people to understand. Barrow stood up to speak. He saw nobody. All right? He saw nobody. He was speaking to the empty walls of the stadium and the stands. This president gets up and speaks and says, we need to be careful of coronavirus. Listen to this, brothers and sisters. I wanted to use hyperboles, idioms, to make this sound the way it actually sounded on Saturday. The amount of crestfallen face I've seen from that Barrow guy on Saturday. All right? I wanted to create an imagery so you guys can understand how stratospheric this was. How much of an almighty collapse Barrow's launch was. All right? He stands up to speak about launching his party. And he launches into coronavirus prevention. Listen to this. This is a president who just put 20,000 people together. A week or so before, he had another rally. A few weeks ago, he had 30 days of national tour. He stood up at the stadium and telling people, oh, coronavirus is serious. Coronavirus is going to spread. You're going to take serious caution with coronavirus, social distancing, and face mask and all whatnot. But it's the same guy who just gathered 20,000 people. What is wrong with this man? What's wrong with Barrow? Does he have any his fulcrums in place? Look, I think he's seriously suffering from some mental state of some sort. You just gathered 20,000 people. Previous to that, you had lots of crowds. But you had the temerity, the cheek, the arrogance to stand before Gambian people and tell them to prevent the spread of coronavirus by social distancing, by wearing masks. You see how this person doesn't think? And whoever his speech writers are basically pulling wool over his eyes. These people are treating this man like a mug. Look, I've never been disrespectful And I don't want to be disrespectful to Barrow. I'm just telling him how the people around him are treating him. Like a mug, basically. You just put 20,000 people together with no social distancing. A lot of them didn't have masks. But you stood at the podium telling those people how to prevent the spread of coronavirus in the Gambia. That coronavirus is serious. That they must wear face masks. That they must have that distance between them. Does this man have any level of intellectual capacity? Any level of it? Because the one thing he should have avoided, if he was smart, is any talk of coronavirus on the podium. That's the one thing he should never have mentioned. Because the biggest irony you'll ever have is gathering so many people and telling them to social distance, to wear masks. And you know the hygiene of our people is not great either. They'll be standing in that crowd and they'll be coughing and they'll spit. That's not being disrespectful to our people. I'm not being disrespectful to our people. I'm just saying, all right, that some of our people do that. And I'll not be surprised if a lot of people did that in that 20,000 crowd. The one thing he shouldn't have done is have any conversation of coronavirus in that Independence Stadium. It tells you that man is thick, he's slow, he's suffering some serious, some sort of debilitating effects in his head. The people that write speech, if somebody wrote a speech for me, let's suppose I'm the Gambian president today, and somebody wrote a speech to me and said, oh, Lamin Tamba, you know what? When you're delivering the speech, tell people that you cannot have lights on. And I'm here, gonna give a speech at night, and there's going to be lights. I'll hold my speechwriter by his ear and pull him and said, who the F do you think I am? You're telling me to give a speech at night to a crowd, well-lit crowd, but the lights should not be on. Because what they did to Barrow is exactly that. They're telling you to speak about coronavirus prevention in the middle of a crowd. What sort of stupidity is that? And you know, poor Barrow, nobody gives him respect either. This is the third time Barrow is on the podium and now we cut electricity supply. Because I heard there was electricity supply interruption at the stadium. The last time he was giving a speech in a hotel, now we cut him electricity. And then he went to Farato or somewhere again, or Brikama, I can't remember now. They cut electricity supply and he was on this podium gesticulating with frustration. They cut my electricity again. At the Independence Stadium, the president is giving a speech and they cut electricity again. These people don't respect him. They know he knows nothing. They know he's void of substance. So therefore, these people are capitalizing. They're making money. Look at the accountant general wants to go and grab money from poor people at the Trans-Gambia Bridge crossing. Why? What has an accountant general got to do with revenue collection? Yes, accountant general is responsible for making sure revenue is collected, is done properly, is tabulated properly, is banked properly, and is distributed according to budget across government departments. But people are collecting revenue, fees properly at the ferry. People are collecting fees properly at the Trans-Gambia Bridge. I will not call it Senegambia Bridge. I refuse to call that bridge Senegambia Bridge. Jawara called the Trans-Gambia Bridge even though he did nothing about it for 30 years. Jammeh came and called the Trans-Gambia Bridge. He did something about it and built it. His plaque is still there. The same project that Barrow is stealing. I'll call it Trans-Gambia Bridge because that's what patriotic Gambians are going to do. And Barrow, if you want, you can go and bring all the ECOWAS forces, 1 million of them, and station them on Gambian soil. We're going to remove you on the 5th of December. And if you're not careful, that removal is going to be disrespectful. The man needs to grow a spine. The man needs to buckle up. He needs to put some muscle on himself and kick ass because the people around him don't give him respect. They're facing him in his face and telling him, look at you. You're such a fool. You're slow. We're going to fool you. We're going to write a speech that you cannot dissect. You have no intellect and we'll get you to go and speak, deliver that speech and look like a fool. That's what his advisors are doing. If the power that goes with the government machinery, the funding, the brutal force of an incumbent cannot pack a 25,000 capacity venue heads should have been rolling. His organizers, his mobilizers should have been biting like sand somewhere today. None of that chicken, none of that chew kong, none of that catfish that he eats and all whatnot that they allege that he eats regularly. Kick them out. They're fooling you. Your people should have said to you, Barrow, respect the 3-year mandate, call an election, bring Jammeh back. Jammeh left Gambia and left us in peace. For the sake of peace, Jammeh left. Make sure you honor your side of the bargain. Put systems in place for Jammeh's return. Give him 2 or 3 houses back while the other cases are going through court. Provide him security. Give him his pension. If Jammeh wants to run again at a later date, it's his prerogative. He's a citizen. Right now, constitutionally, he's not barred from running again. And I know for a fact, if Jammeh runs again, you can put all other parties together. This time, he's going to thump them. He's going to pulverize them. He's going to destroy them. He's going to wipe the floor. I can tell you that because Gambian people have suffered enough. The prices of commodities, rice has gone up again this week. Fish has gone up again this week. Oil has gone up this week. Chicken legs and thighs and drumsticks has gone up this week. Corporation tax is back, it's gone up. Every single thing is expensive. People are struggling. Gambia Groundnut Corporation is broke. They went to Ajib Bank to borrow $250 million, as I heard, and the interest they'll pay back is $20 million. Where's the agricultural budget? IEC went to borrow money from a bank, Zenith Bank or something like that. Where's the government money? TRC was begging Gamtel to help them with money. If TRC knew they were running out of money, why did they extend their mandate for 6 months? So that they can get richer and richer and fatter, and they've escalated the lies that are coming from that commission now. Right up to the top. Because they knew, I heard them saying in audio 2 weeks ago, that Jammeh Commission couldn't kill the APRC, TRC couldn't kill the APRC. In fact, APRC is getting more and more popular. Jammeh is getting more and more popular because people have now realized they had a better time under APRC than the current government. So now, what's their strategy, next strategy? To escalate the stories coming out against Jammeh, against the APRC. Maybe Jammeh done them, I don't know. If Jammeh did these things, I will not be an obstacle to justice. But these are the same people who are overseeing these departments when some of these crimes, alleged crimes, were happening, and they did nothing about it. But today, because the good time is not there anymore with Jammeh, they can come and point fingers at Jammeh, or point fingers at the dead. Whoever is not there, accuse them of the crime. Oh, so Jammeh Commission and TRC was a gimmick. We wanted to use that to kill APRC. Well, guess what? APRC is rebounding. APRC is surging forward. APRC is getting more powerful. And now that Jammeh is giving permission to be the flag bearer, people are actually joining us in URR. I can tell you this now. And thank you to Sidi Mbalo. Thank you to Bajoko Dukure, sorry, URR stuff. Thanks to CRR, APRC executive too. People are now joining APRC. In fact, 60 youths in CRR are about to defect to the APRC now as we speak. They were supposed to do that back in November. We postponed it. APRC is getting more powerful in the countryside. You saw our resurgence. You saw our resurgence in Jokado, Kerjarga, and that's just one ward. If you go to the other wards, APRC is going to get more powerful. We're going to go to Nyomi and take over. We're going to go to Jokado and take over. We're going to go to Ilyas and take over. We're going to go to other regions and take over. Because people have now seen the truth. Burglary, rape, knife-edge crime is at an all-time high. Corruption, theft, stealing, all sorts of stuff. People are tired. People are suffering. People can't eat. People can't be treated. People can't be educated. And the students are suffering. But I wanted to cover just 2 topics today and I got carried away. The NPP, the crowd you saw, the empty stadium was the real supporters of Barrow. The ones that actually meant well for Barrow. And Barrow, take this from me. The current support you have cannot win you a general election. You're going to be ruled by APRC again. So therefore, the people who are subjecting APRC to illegal stuff, unconstitutionality, clamp down on them. Because next year, this time, you will be standing in that dock facing us, prosecuting you. But we're not going to do that until we lift the constitutional immunity. We don't want to break the constitution. After all, it's the APRC that brought the constitution. We'll give you your right 100%. And if Babili Mansa wants to do anything to you other than treason, any other thing that you're indemnified for, we will stand and make sure your rights are advanced. Your rights will not be broken. They will not be breached. But this is the time for you to put your foot down. Tell your advisors to stop lying to you. Wake up. Stop sleeping on the podium. Stop sleeping at events. Wake up, man. This is a great time for the APRC, though. We're happy. The greedy people, the selfish people are taking action against Barrow government because what they expected, they couldn't get it in New Gambia. Now they're angry, exasperated, disappointed. Everywhere they're taking action against Barrow government, and the Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia 1997 is now getting stronger and more glossy than it ever has been. It's getting glossier and glossier by the day. The Constitution they used to call the B word, the F word, the toilet paper, the tissue paper, is now actually supporting every other Gambian, including BB Dabo himself, Coach Pasamba Jaw himself. The people who went and said constitutionally the Electoral Act 2015 was wrong. Now the Jammeh Commission, the B word constitution, the F word constitution, the S word constitution is now benefiting these people. They're standing proud, they're happy. Yes, they won against the Barrow government or the Electoral Act. They're happy. The Jammeh Commission is protecting them. The Jammeh Constitution is protecting them and giving them their fundamental rights. Except that Yankuba Toure has been forfeited of his fundamental rights. And this is a dangerous ruling to which the Chief Justice of the Gambia himself will one day fall. He'll fall on his own sword if he's not careful. The ruling is dangerous. I'm not saying the Supreme Court is biased. No. I'm telling you, the ruling is extremely dangerous. And some of these people who are cheering now that Yankuba lost his rights, one day you will be victims to this constitution. Oh yes. Because right now in Barrow government, there are so many people who are perpetrating crimes, who are doing things beyond their official duties. So let's lean on that word, official duty. If you go and help your brother to get the job in government, rather than going through PMO or PSC, if you put your brother or sister to drive a government vehicle or government fuel or use some other thing, or if you're taking government coupons, or if you're using a government vehicle outside of your work hours, you've gone beyond your official duty. You will be prosecuted for it one day. You lose your rights like Yankuba Toure. In fact, Yankuba Toure is stronger when it comes to those immunity clauses. He's stronger because he was a junta official. You're not. So if you're driving Gambia government vehicle outside of official duties, office hours, you're liable. If you're embezzling, you're liable. If you're helping your friends and family get jobs in the government the wrong way, you're liable. If you're taking longer breaks in government to go to Albert Market to shop, or to go somewhere else to shop, or you're going on holidays, or you've done unnecessary travel and claim the wrong per diem, you will not be protected. You will be prosecuted one day. You will face it like Yankuba Toure. But unlike Yankuba Toure, the APRC government will not create 20-25 adjournments for a simple murder case. Because that's what they're doing to Yankuba Toure in order to make him lose his freedom. One adjournment after the other. In fact, they claim they didn't have the original constitution of the Gambia 1997. So they had to adjourn twice to keep that man in prison for the sake of it, just because they can. They had to adjourn 20-25 times. They've been adjourning that man's trial. That's what they're doing. Cynicism, malice, wickedness, unjustifiable vindictiveness, diabolical, distasteful, grotesque, despicable. Anyway, I intended to be on this just for an hour. I talk too much. I'm going to wrap up because I wanted to talk about the two Supreme Court rulings. One which should make APRC bounce in excitement. We're ready for the 5th of December. Every APRC person should be ready. Babili Mansa is coming back. He's not now bad to be an executive member. The man is going to come back. He's going to run. He's going to win. He's going to thump all the other parties. The refusal of Yankuba Toure's immunity will go back to haunt the same justices of this of the Gambia. You watch. There will be no changing of rules. Rules are rules. Case law is there. But brothers and sisters, we're going to start taking action against the Jammeh Commission's findings against Jammeh. We're going to challenge it constitutionally. We're going to challenge the TRRC constitutionally because our constitution says so. Please, when the link comes out for donation, so we can hire Gambian lawyers to challenge the Jammeh Commission and the TRRC, please, let's donate. $1 each, £1 each, 1,000 of us, we get $1,000, 1,000 pounds, enough to start the case. But we need roughly $5,000, $10,000 to go the long way, to go the stretch. If we have $5,000, it will sort the problem out. We will challenge the Jammeh Commission, we'll challenge the TRRC, and they'll be thrown out in terms of constitutionality when it came to investigating Jammeh, or adversely finding against Jammeh, or making recommendations against Jammeh, because they're breaching the constitution. Yet the Supreme Court, the justice system of the Gambia is quiet. I saw Hassan Jallow telling people to speed up the draft constitution. And something else he told people to speed up today. Yeah? Let me see why he said we should speed up today. I have the screenshots of Gambian newspapers. He told us to speed up something today. All right? That's why he said. But he'll not tell the courts to speed up Yankuba's trial. He'll not tell the courts to speed up Yankuba Baji and the NIA 7 trial. All right? He will not tell the TRRC and Jammeh Commission that they were wrong when they looked into Jammeh's affairs. No, he will not tell them that, because that's not in his favor. But he'll tell them to do everything else except that. All right? So therefore, you think Gambia's judiciary is independent? I don't think so. Yeah? I don't think so. But I'm going to wrap this up, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to wrap this up. I've been here too long. I intend to do Facebook Lives just for like 1 hour, because it's more intelligible, or concentration of a human being starts waning after 1 hour. So I want people to be able to listen to Facebook Live for about an hour, and that's it. So I can come more frequently rather than having one very long one. It tends to get very boring. It bores people. After 1 hour, the level of, that's scientific by the way, the level of concentration drops, and it drops, and it drops to a point where people's brains get saturated. So I'll come more frequently, just sit there for half an hour, cover one topic, or 1 hour, cover 1, 2, 3 topics, and end it. All right? So I appreciate you all. I'm going to end this Facebook Live. Please look out for the link to sponsor the legal action against the Jammeh Commission and legal action against TRRC. We must do this as a party, APRC, or as Gambians. You don't have to be APRC. You have to be able to be willing to stand up for your constitution. The constitution belongs to all of us. It's protecting all of us. So make sure we're all ready to fund this link to be able to instigate legal action against the Jammeh Commission and the TRRC, and maybe even revive our election petition from 2016, as well as fight for the APRC bank accounts and assets that were frozen. All right? Thank you very much. On that note, I'll end this Facebook Live. I love you all. Every Gambian person, green or yellow or purple or pink or blue or red, I love you all. All right? Have a very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate your time. I'll come back again soon. I'll come more often than marathons, all right? Thank you. Good night.